Hello and welcome to Season 1, Episode 1 of the Corona Cocktail Chronicles, broadcasting under lockdown from Marin County, California. A special production note today. Thank you to my audience of two. Without the two of you, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you, David. Thank you, Mitchell. I suspect that we're all only here because of the current lockdown condition, but nevertheless, I'm happy to be here today. But before we get going today, let's do a very appropriate dedication for our times. Dear Mother Nature, we know you're so very pissed off right now. We're very, very sorry. We'll be good. Please let this go. And let's make this the very last ever episode of Corona Cocktail Chronicles. And this is me. I'm your host, Paul. Under normal times in the world, I'm not qualified to lecture or educate on cocktail preparation. However, under the current lockdown situation, I feel like I can understandably fill my time and yours by going into a deep dive on a topic that I know very little about. And now a multiple choice question. I'm going to warn you in advance, it's a trick question. What is the principal spirit in the martini? I think you guessed it. It's gin. 1, 2, or 3, it's all the same answer. It's gin. The martini is a drink based on gin. So how do we know that a martini is a gin drink? You can test it yourself. When lockdown ends and you have a chance to go to a decent saloon, ask for a martini and what you're going to get is gin. If you don't want gin, however, and you heathens already know this, you have to modify your order when making it with such additional information by adding some proper noun like a Tito's martini, a Grey Goose martini, a cow piss martini, an Everclear martini. Whatever it is, you're modifying the original intent of the martini. So my ask for you today is to stop acting all superior and shit. It's a martini. It doesn't need your dipshit personal modifications. You getting me, fellas? It's really important. So as a public service, I've prepared this table for you to compare gin and vodka on certain key characteristics. Flavor? Well, gin, lovely complex botanicals, lovingly distilled to achieve the distiller's ideal flavor profile. Vodka, no taste really. Some hint of potato. I don't know what you guys are doing. Color, both gin and vodka obviously are clear. Can they get you wasted? Yes, both gin and vodka obviously can get you wasted. But most important, perhaps, the number of times in history a member of the opposite sex has said, "Hey, classy choice." As far as gin goes, the numbers can't even be measured. It's near infinity. That happens all the time. As far as vodka goes, actually in human history, it's never once happened that someone said, "Ooh, classy vodka." So keep that in mind. Okay, let's set the table before we go ahead and make one of these babies. Gin storage? No, not in the freezer. Look, it's probably okay. The purists will go nuts though. Gin is delicate. The freezer is too cold, too harsh for too long on gin. Please keep it in the fridge or keep it in the pantry. Yes, and to the best of our ability, let's try to dispense with this James Bond shaken versus stirred thing. Back in Ian Fleming's day, gin was probably pretty rot gut, and shaking it hard burned off some of that kerosene-like flavor and probably was a good move. Modern gins are so delicately distilled that that's not necessary. In fact, it ruins what the distiller's after. And here's a fun fact, in fact, several fun facts. Stirring is less dilutive to your cocktail than shaking the heck out of it. Stirring makes the drink colder, faster, for that matter, and preserves the very nice notes that are really an important part of the gin experience. So also as a public service, I've prepared yet another table for you to get a visual guide of the different things we're going to need to make a martini. $15 for a beautiful glass pitcher. Bed Bath & Beyond will send it to you because we can't go out. But if you're in some sort of a lockdown situation that you can't get that, some stupid Tupperware Rubbermaid plastic thing that you have on the shelf will suffice. That's not endorsed. That's just a hack in an emergency. So too with the strainer, $3 item. Again, they'll send it to you. But if you don't have one and you're in a pinch, I'm going to recommend something that's very coronavirus inappropriate. Use your hands. I should say wash your hands repeatedly before Wash your hands repeatedly after. Don't hand the drink to anybody, and good luck with that. But it's available in a pinch. I hope you have a bar spoon, a $13 item perhaps. If not, some stupid big-ass metal spoon from your drawer will suffice. But don't tell anybody I said so. All right, we're going to need some gin. Gins all differ a little bit. If you want to go with one of the big names, makes you feel good about your choice, you can't go wrong. Bombay, Sapphire, Tanqueray, and Hendricks, which we'll talk more about in a second. Regardless, I'm recommending you start your journey with London Dry Gin. London Dry Gin makes for a great martini. The botanicals are distilled into the gin during the distillation process in order to be called a London Dry Gin. Something that's not a London Dry Gin, they're possibly adding some flavors afterwards, like coconut to coconut rum or something. It's not that great, but they've done a beautiful job. So it's not a bad option, but we can start our journey with London Dry Gin. Okay, we're about to get started, but first a advisory warning. The upcoming video is very graphic and may be disturbing to you on several fronts. Your host is a good-looking guy. Just ask his mother. However, the toll of lockdown is evident. First of all, his hair has gone out of control. He can't remember when he last had a haircut and is not sure if he'll ever get another one under the current situation. Furthermore, for reasons that are not clear to anybody, including the host, he's working on his lockdown beard, perhaps in the finest tradition of hockey players waiting on the Stanley Cup or something. The host is considering letting this beard grow until lockdown ends, which means future episodes of CCC may look very different, but already you could see the rapid decline in the condition of your host. So please bear with it. We're all trying to make do under these current circumstances. Okay, let's proceed. We're going to make a martini today. It's 12:30 p.m. in California, and under Corona protocols, all hours are appropriate to make a martini. I've preloaded my pitcher with ice. I do want to say before we get started that we're going to make a special offering on a very limited basis of our CCC logo wear. Please contact me by private message if you want to have your own shirt and play the home game of making a martini. But in the meantime, let's proceed. I've got my ice ready. Let's talk about gin. The gin I chose to use today is a gin you probably don't have. Little Bird, which we brought back from London. It's a London Dry Gin, plainly says so. I also had Hendricks handy, which is a lovely choice. Hendricks does not say London Dry Gin because some things are added apparently later in the distillation process. So we're going to leave that out right this second, but it's a lovely choice. I would never say anything bad about Hendricks. So therefore, we have our jigger. Let's do one squeaky shot of Little Bird. Done. Now, vermouth. Vermouth is often discussed. First of all, I will observe this is as good a vermouth as any, but I have a little note here. I date stamp vermouth because it's a fortified wine, meaning it will last longer than white wine will, but not forever. 45 days to 60 days. It's not very expensive. So mark your vermouth. Don't forget when it starts to turn, get rid of it. Actually, in fact, get rid of it before it starts to turn. That way you know. That's why I date stamp it. Really good choice. And we're going to do less than a half jigger of vermouth. People talk about vermouth in a martini a whole bunch of different ways, including often with some disdain. It's part of what makes martini. You can go more, you can go less. The idea of dry with no vermouth is just a glass of gin. Let's add a little more interest than that. Okay, we've got our components. I've got my bar spoon, which I described, and Susie. That should do it. The glass is starting to feel cold. I've got my strainer. Place the strainer like so. Here's my classic coupe glass, which is my preference. Beautiful, crystal clear, cold. You could go with a larger glass when you're in a more ambitious lockdown mood. It's a little much. I prefer to make multiple batches of this size. It's beautiful, it's clear. It's cold to the touch. delicious. Going to make for a nice afternoon. Thanks for joining. Okay, now the advanced portion of our little lecture this afternoon, where your lecturer goes off the reservation a little bit. I have said previously, you don't need to fart around and make a martini different from what it was intended. However, in this advanced section, we're going to do that anyway, because I want to introduce my cloche. Importantly, you don't need a cloche. Importantly, your host does not need a cloche. I have a cloche because I like being able to say to people, I have a cloche. It makes me feel cool. I may not be cool at all, but that's how it makes me feel. So that's important. Okay, let's move on to our next video clip in which your host makes a Mediterranean-influenced cloched martini. Okay, welcome to the advanced part of our presentation today, where we're going to talk about what I call Spanish-influenced smoky martini, which is totally off the reservation. But I feel so great to be able to show off my stuff with you today because we're having a lot of fun with my cloche. So we're going to use the cloche in a second. First of all, I will say that I have this beautiful martini recently prepared. I've added some olives on a stick across, as you can probably see. It's quite gorgeous. The olives I'm using today are these store-bought Castro Vetrano olives, which are Italian. It's a very nice olive choice. And what we're going to do, this cloche has a clear cover, which sits on a base, which has this little air inlet in it. You can see this tube running back to the gun. The gun, the smoker, has got wood chips preloaded in there. In fact, they came with the cloche. And what we're going to do is add the drink. Get the drink in position. I'm using a drizzle of Spanish olive oil just to add a little bit of oil to float on the top, make it interesting. The drink is in position. The lid is in position. We're going to light the smoking chips. Here we go. As soon as they catch. As soon as they catch. And forward we go. Turn the gun on. There we go. A nice flame going there. And now you can see, through the miracle of smoking, we're getting a really nice dense smoky cloud for our drink to cook in. Doesn't take much. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 seconds, who knows? I sometimes let it go longer just because I love the effect. Turn the gun off. And look at this presentation here. Coronavirus be damned, we're having fun and the smoke is really dense. And now, we can clear out the pollution in here. Got this beautiful Spanish influenced. Perfect. Cheers. That's it for today and concludes Season 1, Episode 1. Many thanks to our platinum level sponsors, Hamilton Jewelers and Post Beyond. Hey, those checks haven't arrived yet. I know it's tough times, but it's tough times here too, so see what you can do to move things along. That's a wrap for Corona Cocktail Chronicles. Hey fellas, I'll see you next time.